there, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about basic projecting like 4K's or 1080p's, and the effect it has actually watching the films. Now I've got my thumbnail as it was inspired by The Keep and Texas Chainsaw 2, watching them, and just the sense of what you lose in TV is the big thing, because I had not seen either of these two films like in good quality, like ever, really. I mean, Texas Chainsaw 2, you'd get kind of it would been redone a little bit in like the MGM version, but I'd only ever seen TV, and it always looked a bit naff, really. Which is fine for Texas Chainsaw 2 because it's like that's part of the charm. But you never really got a sense of what the quality was, and The Keep was famously, terrible quality, SD at best. It felt like video quality a lot of the time. It never been remastered. And try to get it on its proper aspect ratio is hard enough as well. It been done by its studio, done by its director Michael Mann. Everyone kind of hated it, and for a long time it was like forgotten. And I've even did a video on it. I think I've did the video on Texas Chainsaw 2 as well, when I did the Chainsaw Massacre movies, and I'm sure I have. It reminds me somewhere. I'm sure I've talked about it somewhere. But it's like, but actually watching them over Christmas, over January, really, it's just the sense of what you're actually seeing, like quality wise, what you're seeing in the film themselves. So I also watched Texas Chainsaw, the first one, as well recently, and it was a marked improvement just seeing it like projected. Now the thing is, this projector I've got here is a 1080p projector, so I cannot project 4K, and that's fine. 1080p is fine for projecting. I cannot afford to go for 4K. It would be nice, but I can't afford it. And you see, I've got a screen that is the anti-reflective screen, which means you've actually got it soaks the image in more, so you can actually see more, so it's not bouncing back off and being a bit vague. If you turn the lights off and put the blinds down and everything, I've got a kind of screen that just blocks the light out. You can get some really good quality, and I've got basically a 7.1 audio, which I can set up in about 2 minutes now because it's quite easy, from Altamira, which is a very good one. I mean, it's not the top quality one that the people building their own home theatres would have, but I can set it up in 2 minutes and it's a good quality thing, and I'm quite happy for the space that I've got in my room. It is good quality, and that's the big thing, is you have to adjust. If you're doing project, you have to adjust it to what you've got and not complain too much. So I always found that TV, good, meant you always felt you're watching a film, you were missing a lot. You really were, from the cinema experience. And even the cinema experience, it depends where you sit. If you're sitting in the back of the cinema, which tends to be where you can go and get some peace and quiet and avoid people, like I like to avoid people because of anxiety, you're not in the area where you're getting the best quality of the screen because you're so far away. So I always find you're not getting premiere seats. But if you've got a projector, you can have the premiere seat from you to the projector to the screen. You've got that. You can have the ideal seating position to see the film and get as good a quality as possible. And so it's a good middle ground, because sometimes actually watching the film here is better quality than I saw in the cinema. It really is. It's like you're getting the bigger screen, and when you get over 100 inches, it's big enough. If you're in a small room, it's big enough. And if you're in a room, if you've been to like a lot of multiplexes, a lot of them are pretty much boxes. I remember when I was a film student, we had a screen that, wasn't that much bigger than the screen I'm using now to show films to the class. And the good thing is, with actually just projecting films, is you can watch older films and have an idea of what they were like when they were released. You can't you can't get an idea of you can't get it fully because some of those screens are so huge they don't exist anymore. But you can get a good idea of what it was like when you can't TV. You can get an idea. The big thing is you pick up on the nuances visually. You can see little bits in the back of the screen that suggest things that were in the shot that you would never see in the TV. You can see wires sometimes that they hoped you wouldn't see. You can see a lot of things, but mainly you can get a better sense of the pace in the film the director wanted, how it was built in to the design. And if you have a decent sound system, you get a sense of how the image and the sound works well together. And that's the big thing, because I was using a 2.1 system for a long time, which was good and it gave you a lot, but sometimes the clarity wasn't as good for the actual surround of what was going on. And then with surround sound stuff, you don't need to have it up that loud. You can just have a kind of general bass of it and you get a sense of the world. And that really does help watching a film. Even an older film. Because the good thing is if you use a audio extractor, which I do, and you put it to 2 point setting, even if it's only a 2.0 sound release of an older film, like an old, Universal Dracula film or something, it will spread it through all the speakers and you get a whole sense of surround. So it's not just stuck to the two speakers, you actually get a surround of the whole thing. So there are tricks to do that you can actually, even for older films, even if a film is a kind of 2.0, you can get much more of the cinema experience, because even a 2.0 surround means only 2 channels. But in the cinema, they would have the channels all the way up the side, so you'd still get the 2 channels through it. So there's a way to trick your speakers into doing that. So you do get a sense of what was going on. And that's kind of really important if you're a film fan, to actually get an idea of how a film was and what a film is really about. So a video I'll be doing very soon is the Once Upon a Time in the West, which I just watched last night. And it's, not last night, the night before, but it doesn't really matter from when you watch the video. But it's like an amazing film on to see it in a bigger screen and actually have proper sound. You get an immersive feel to it and you get a sense of what it was like. Now, I've actually seen Once Upon a Time in the West in cinema. So I already knew what it was, but it's nice to rewatch and again get that feel. But it's also great to see films like The Red Shoes or Tales of Hoffman or any of the Paul Pressburger films, because they were theatrical. You get a sense of what they're about. I've just done a video on Wind Talkers, which I managed to see in projector with the 7.1 thing, and even though it's only a 5.1 mix, they went to all the speakers and you get a sense of the world. Now, where you can't nowadays for most films, even though the actual transfer wasn't great, you still get a sense of the film. And the thing is, when you project the 1080p, it looks very nice in our 1080p projector. You use the actual 4K's. Yeah, they're brought down to 1080p, but they still look great. They look really good. They look really sharp, especially when you're projecting them. And you do get a sense of this is a better quality projection you would give a 1080p Blu-ray. So there is a reason to actually have the 4K projector, the 4K player projected to 1080p. You still get that extra little kick that gives you a lovely image. Sometimes it's a bit bright. It depends on the projector you've got. The projector I've got is quite bright. So, but I like it brightness because you get a lot more nuances. And you can always adjust the picture quality if you want to. So, to the Keep. The Keep is just wonderful when you see it. It's one of those ones that does have a 2.0 sound, but because I had the screen, I actually can good surround sound. But even without that, just to put the sound quality on a proper speaker in this film, you really get a sense of what the film was. What the film was like this immersive experience. Now, another film I watched Michael Mann's last night was Manhunter, which was his film after this one, which had a lot of similarities. They're both horror stories. Manhunter also didn't do very well commercially, but was a big critical hit, and it has become a massive film since then. And with that one, you get a sense of things you could not see on video, like the idea of, like, the Will Graham character is actually interested in what does the serial killer see, what he sees as families, and what he sees as images of the Blue Wonder Woman. And you also see how that relates to Will Graham's life and how he thinks that way, view his own life on his own wife, and why it's more painful for him to think these thoughts to try and track down this killer. In a way, it's theoretical when you see it on basically video, but if you see it on a bigger screen with a good mix, you can see the way the director's planted these images in, the way that it's been cut, and the way that they interact in the film. That why it's painful for him is how does he suck off his feelings for his wife, and how he pulls off his feelings for his family to find the serial killer motivations, and why it's painful. And it's just much more emotional if you can see the full stream of what the director had in image and sound. If it's a good director, you get so much more from it. And the same with The Keep, you get so much more from it, even though it's been cut to hell. The paranoia in The Keep, the sense of this inescapable presence of The Keep itself before you get to the monsters, then you get the Nazis, and the sense of what they are in the imagery, which you don't get in video. You can't get it in VHS or DVD. You just don't get that. It's just like a flat image on a TV, and you might have a sound speaker to give you a bit more atmosphere, but you don't get the way the image and the sound really works together if it was with a proper video image or a filmed image on the big screen. You just don't get what the filmmakers want. I mean, you might not want that, but if you're a film fan who want to see what the image is, how it connects to the sound, yeah, it's kind of important. So that's why it's interesting to have that. That's why it's important to have that if you're a film fan. And that's why projection is really useful. But it does take time. You have to... Like, my first projector I bought was a useless one. It was terrible, and it was barely worth it. And then I finally had to figure out what lumens meant, and anti-lumens meant, and all that stuff, and why some things were important, why some things weren't. How to connect up, how to use an audio extractor to get a bit of sound for you, because audio extractors are complicated. You have to kind of work out how to use them for certain speakers, and what to use, and how different things, like there's certain speakers now that just connect to TVs. If you're projecting them, you can't use certain leads, and it's all that stuff. But it's not that complicated. You do get there. It just means reading up on it a little bit, or asking people, how does this work? So it's something that can be done if you're interested in the bigger screen experience, which I've always have been. I mean, for some people this doesn't matter, that stuff doesn't matter, I'll just see the film. But for me, the experiential part of the process of watching a film is very important. Which is why I get very annoyed when a director doesn't take advantage of the screen, of the imagery and what it can do. So also I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. This really thrives on actually having a good master, especially when you're projecting it, and just the sense of, I get a feeling I've seen this film in a better condition than people at the cinema saw it. I really do. It has been remastered. It does have a good sound system. It's only 2.0, but because of the way the sound works, I can get it through the theatre. And just the picture quality is really good here, and you get a sense of the humour of the first half, the fact that this is a broad comedy with lots of gore, so the gore works. And then the second half, when it goes to the extreme thing of taking the mickey out of its own past by having these extreme chases that lead nowhere, and just having a sense of fun, but also a sense of just how gruesome some of these special effects are that Tom Savini did. Because one of the things is, special effects play differently on a big screen than they do to TV. And TV, they always look fake. You always see how did anyone like accept this in the cinema? But you see in the cinema, it's like sometimes the effects are a bit dodgy, but it doesn't matter. I can imagine the rest, and that's why a lot of films when they go to video or streaming, they just look cheap because you're not seeing them the way the shot was designed for, the way the trick. You're not seeing the way the magic trick was designed for, and then, so it's lacking. And just the space, the way people move through space, to the music, to the imagery, is very important to the setup of a film. How long the shot lasts, how it affects you. If you see it on a smaller screen, it just puts a person walk across a room, and then if you see it in a bigger screen, it's an epic walk across the room of doom. There's just that different feeling, especially if you get the music right. And it takes a chance to all of these effects of the gore and all these like skeletons. They create this sense of to the whole movie that you don't get in this smaller screen. And it just creates it makes the jokes funnier because it's just so gruesome and so grotesque, and it's just wonderful. Watch this film. It's great. On the biggest screen as possible, the best sound as possible, just to get the full skin crawl. And again, watch Manhunter the biggest screen as possible. But the thing with that was, you kind of want to wait for a good, remaster, because that's a film that needs a remaster really badly. Because you could tell it was an older remaster. Even watching it in the projector, was like, it looks pretty good, but it could look so much better. Another one I watched recently that made a big difference seeing the big screen is Speed Racer, which is all CGI. So I went from a kind of more natural shots, everything's practical, takes a chainsaw, to all CGI. And yeah, this one just looks amazing, projected digitally. Even though it was only 1080p, the colours look great, the sound is great, and you just get a sense of this world in a way that almost feels like when you saw it in the cinema, when it was put onto film, it felt faker. But now when you actually have it on digital, because it was shot, most of it as a digital film basically. It's just the same way the Star Wars prequels look better projected digitally. The world feels more real, and the world feels more complete into what they're trying to do. This one feels much better, just projected digitally. It's like, yeah, it's a fake film. It's a film about the fakery of special effects and the emotion that actors project within this fake world, and it's all about that experience. It's almost like what the Wachowskis talked about in Theory and the Matrix. They tried to do in Speed Racer as an emotional practicality, and it really works being projected in a way that it's fun to watch on a smaller screen. It's just like, but some of the action stuff, some of the weird, funny, like car stuff, doesn't really work the same way. The weird emotion you get within this fake world, the way it's cut, the way that it's paced out, just works so much better projected. And it's just one of those things. It's like, it's a film that, yeah, it's good, but projected, it's really good. It aged really well. It's definitely one, if you've got a projector, try Speed Racer. Turn the sound up. And finally, even though I'm trying to do these little ones, I didn't announce in my thumbnail very quick, but I saw this one yesterday as well, The Thing. I was going through a horror phase. Horror movies don't scare me. Horror movies I enjoy so much, and I have a lot of fun with. The Thing just looks great. Again, this is a 4K, and I projected it, and it came through in 1080p. Just the atmosphere, 7.1, the atmosphere of the camp, and just all the imagery of these creatures, practical creatures, and how horrible they look. It's just the way it's paced when you watch the film, like The Thing, on a bigger screen. It feels just different from the scene in video. It just feels like the imagination of the special effects feels much more organic in the landscape, and it just feels much more ooh. In a way that in the TV they look like fun special effects. In a way that we create things when it comes to TV. We create ironic memes of things in a way that we see them on the big screen. It's harder to do because the atmosphere is just so different. They're less funny, they're less weird. It's just on the TV screen you've got a distance that you can create memes with and create jokes with that you don't get the same way on the bigger screen. And that's a great example of that. Just the way the effects look and the way they interact within the frame, the way character frames certain things, and the way you understand the plot of the thing a lot more on the big screen. Like, you realise that Blair was taken really quickly after he get put in the hut. He's been messing with everybody. And you don't realise that in the small screen. It's actually trying to figure out, like, who's doing what. The bigger screen actually figured out whatever was the whole plan was for the thing, which was kind of weird. Of course, I could be wrong with that theory. Who knows? But yeah, so I mean, again, this is just a video to say, maybe if you've got the space for projection, I'm saying give it a try if you like the experiential side of cinema. If you just like treating films like TV, you don't really need it. But if you like films to be films, you actually can, on a budget, create some good stuff. Because I mean, this screen costs like £40. My projector costs like £220, and my speakers cost about £180 or something. That's over time. I didn't buy them all together. And the extractor cost is like £30. You know, you can do it within a budget if you do it slowly. Over time, you can actually do it. If you've got the space, it is available to you. So, even a budget, you can do it. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Right, bye.